Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I am going to be sharing how we are getting back to school ready using the CRICUT Joy. For those of you who haven't heard of the CRICUT Joy before, it is an absolutely amazing machine. I have been using it for the last couple of weeks and I cannot tell you how many things around my house have now got labels on them. This video I'm going to be sharing how, like I said, we are getting back to school ready using the CRICUT Joy. I would usually buy my own little personalised labels for the boys to stick on their clothing, their shoes and all of their stationery. But now I have the CRICUT Joy, I do not need to buy those labels anymore as I can make my own. I'm also going to add one little thing that I have crafted and sort of DIY'd with the CRICUT Joy that you are going to love as an organisational hack for your kitchen. So keep watching to the end so you don't miss that, because I think that's my favourite thing that I have done with the CRICUT Joy. So as you can see, this is the CRICUT Joy. It is such a cool machine. As you can see, it's a really lovely size. It's not too big and it stows away in its own little carrier really niftily so that you can pop it away in storage and it won't take up too much room. When you buy the CRICUT Joy, you can also get loads of accessories with it too. You can get different papers, you can get different vinyls, you can also get a little iron so that you can iron on labels to material too. The CRICUT Joy is so versatile, and as you will soon see, it can label pretty much anything around your home. I will put a link down below in my description box about the CRICUT Joy, but any other questions you have, just comment down below and I will answer them as best as possible. So with all that said, let's get straight on into this video. So firstly, I wanted to start off by labelling the boys' water bottles. So what I have got here are some nice stainless steel water bottles, and I'm just going to add a really simple label onto each. So I'm going to launch the CRICUT app. I have just downloaded this from the App Store. It's really easy to download and it's totally free for you to use too. CRICUT has then categorised some labels you can use. I have just gone on to the quick labels and I have used one of their samples. You can create your own if you'd like to, but this is what Jamie wanted. He actually really likes this, and I've actually used this label for quite a few things around my house. What I then have done is just gone onto the label setting, added in Jamie's name, and then I need to choose which vinyl I am going to be using for this water bottle. As you can see, I have gone for a removable vinyl. This means that if Jamie at any time wants to switch his name out with any other label, it's quite easy to take off the bottle without damaging it. However, it does not come off the bottle without you taking it off manually. It is stuck on really, really well. Once we've chosen the design and the vinyl we will be using, I then connect my phone up to my CRICUT Joy, and then it tells me what steps I need to do next. I load in my vinyl, press go, let the CRICUT cut out Jamie's name, and I then unload the vinyl from the CRICUT Joy. Once I've cut the label down to size so it's easier to work with, I then get my CRICUT weeder and I remove any excess vinyl that I will not be needing. In this case, I am just weeding out Jamie's name, and when it comes to letters like an A which has a centerpiece, you just want to make sure you don't weed that out, as you do want to include that in your label onto your bottle too. Once I've weeded out Jamie's letters, I then remove the excess of the vinyl around the outside of the label, which then makes it easier for me to remove the label from the backing paper. Once I've removed the label, it's then just ready to stick down. I just want to measure to make sure that I am sticking it straight, and then I have got my scraper and I'm just going around making sure I have got rid of any bubbles that are in my label. This is a really satisfying job because if there are any bubbles, they just squeeze out to the top of your label. Like I said before, you want to keep any little extra bits from the name. So for example, here in Jamie's name, the A has a little bit of extra that then I need to get off the backing paper and put down onto his bottle. I find the easiest way to do this is with my weeder because it's got a nice pointy edge. Once you have done that, your bottle is then ready. As you can see, it looks so effective, and I have done Rory's gold bottle with a black label too. These are not only just perfect for back to school and labeling your products, but they are also great as gifts. As you can see, after I did the boys' bottles, I then went on and I created so many more bottles as gifts for other kids, and I also obviously had to make one for myself too. So for this next label, we're going to be doing something a little bit different, and we're going to be using one of the CRICUT Joy's marker pens. As you can see on the inside of your CRICUT Joy, you have a little blue tab. This is where you put your pens or you put your blade for cutting, and it's really easy to swap them over. So what you need to do is just put your fingers onto the blue tab and open it to the right, and it then releases the blade or the pen, whatever you have in there at the time. Once it is open and the blade has been released, you are then able to remove it and switch it over with whichever device you then need. Like I said, I will be using the marker pen for this label. So I will therefore be using this writable paper label, which has an adhesive back. The process for making this label is exactly the same as what we have done before. So I will just load my paper in, and then I will choose which label I want to go with it. As you can see, this has got kind of like a brown paper backing. So we went for a black marker pen, as this is going to go inside Rory's pencil case. We have printed a nice bold Rory W, so it's really obvious whose pencil case this is when the pencil case is opened. So next up, we're going to be labelling Rory's favourite fountain pen that he has. He got this for his birthday and he just loves it. He keeps it in his case all the time because he really wants to look after it. So he was desperate for me to label it for him. So again, we decided to use one of the sample labels on the CRICUT app, but this time we decided to not have any of a backing to it. We just wanted to have Rory's name by itself, as the pen box isn't too thick. Once we decided what type of text we wanted, it was then ready to print this out. We went for a black permanent vinyl for this case, and then as before, we just followed the steps on the CRICUT Joy app, loaded in our vinyl paper and pressed go. Rory's name was then cut out on the CRICUT Joy in a matter of seconds, and it was then ready to peel off. As this didn't have a back to the name and each letter was separate, you need to do something a little bit differently when you get these off your backing paper. So again, I removed the excess outside of this, and I also weeded out the central parts of each letter in his name. Instead of keeping these central parts, I was then going to discard them, as you just want to keep the actual letters themselves. I then got some of the CRICUT Joy transfer tape. I always just measure out on the transfer tape how big my label is before cutting any off to make sure there's no waste. You then want to peel the transfer tape off its backing paper, stick it down over the letters of your label, and then you want to get your scraper and really scrape hard onto the name to make sure all of those letters are sticking onto your transfer paper. Once you have done that, just give a little test to make sure the letters have stuck on properly. Once they have, you are then ready to remove your transfer paper from the original vinyl backing. Once I'd done that, I then popped my transfer paper, which included Rory's name, onto his case, and again got my scraper and just made sure that all of the letters were really sticking down onto the case. After that, I was then ready to remove all of the transfer paper, and as you can see, his name has stuck down onto his case so well. I just for one last time went around with the scraper to remove any little bubbles that had been left behind, and after that it was ready for Rory to add to his bag. I think this looks so effective, and Rory was so chuffed that his favourite fountain pen now had a dedicated personalised box. This video is going to seem quite Rory heavy with everything that I am labelling for him to go to school, but it is because he is starting high school this year and everything does need to be freshly labelled. So next up, we are going to be labelling Rory's phone case. I just got this clear phone case from Amazon, and I wanted to put Rory's name on it in case it went missing at his new school. Once again, I just used one of CRICUT Joy's sample labels because all of their labels are just really nice and easy to use. What we did for this is we made the label size big enough to fit the iPhone. As you can see on your CRICUT Joy green mat, it has little squares on it, and this gives you a space where you can measure out whatever you are working on. So as you can see, the iPhone is 15 centimeters down to 7 centimeters across. So on my CRICUT Joy app, I changed the dimensions for the labelling so that when I cut out Rory's label, it would fit perfectly in the centre of the back of his phone case. As like before, I went through the usual steps to cut this label out, and then once it was finished, I again cut it down to size, weeded out all the bits that I didn't want to have on the label, peeled it off the backing paper, and then carefully stuck it down onto the phone. As you can see, this label is quite a lot bigger than all the other labels I have made, so you do need to use your scraper quite a lot on this to get out any bubbles that have formed during the sticking process. This, like I said before, is really easy to do, and this scraper is so effective for getting the bubbles out. After I'd done that, all that was left to do was pop Rory's phone into its case, and it was ready for him to take away with him. Okay, so I did say to you at the beginning of the video that I wanted to share one labelling exercise that I did for something in the home that I cannot wait to show you guys. I bought these little jars. These are organisational jars. I got them from Amazon and they come in lots of different sizes. So for these labels, I opened up my CRICUT Joy app. I used one of the sample labels that are already on there. The vinyl I chose to use for this is the black permanent vinyl because I knew I wasn't going to change these once the labels were printed. For the long container, I wanted to use this for spaghetti, so I printed off spaghetti on my CRICUT Joy. Once it was finished, I again went through, weeded out what I didn't want in the label, and then I carefully went ahead and stuck it on to my pot. Once it was stuck down, I filled it up with pasta, and I repeated the same process for another 2 pots with rice and quinoa. This is the end result, and I just think it looks so good. I am so pleased with how this turned out. I am definitely going to be buying more of these from Amazon because I just think they'll look so effective in our new kitchen. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to check out the link down below my description box, which will take you over to the CRICUT Joy website. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!